The night the blind girl walked into the territory of the most feared biker gang, the city seemed to hold its breath. Engines roared like wild beasts under the bridge, flames of exhaust lighting up tattooed faces, and everyone knew that once you crossed this place, you rarely walked out unchanged. She came alone, holding a white cane, her steps careful but unafraid, as if destiny itself was guiding her forward. No one noticed her at first, not until the most dangerous man in the city slowly turned his head toward her, and in that moment, something shifted in the air that no one could explain. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected humanity, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Her name was Eliza Moore, and darkness had been her world since the age of 9. An accident took her sight, but it never took her courage. She learned the city by sound, by smell, by the way the pavement changed under her shoes. People often mistook her blindness for weakness, but Eliza carried a quiet strength that came from surviving alone. That night, she was only trying to get home after her shift at a small call center, but construction blocked her usual path, forcing her into a part of town even taxi drivers avoided. The vibration of engines under her feet told her she had stepped into danger, yet she didn't turn back. Fear had visited her life too many times already to scare her now. The man watching her was known as Raven Black. His real name was Marcus Blackwood, but no one used it anymore. He was the leader of the Iron Ravens, a biker gang whispered about in police stations and feared in dark alleys. His presence alone silenced rooms. Years of violence, betrayal, and survival had carved his soul into something hard and merciless. People saw him as a monster, a man who ruled through fear and blood. What they didn't see was the weight he carried, the ghosts of choices he could never undo, and the small locked place in his heart he believed was long dead. As Eliza moved forward, the gang noticed her, laughter and mocking energy rippling through the crowd. A blind girl in their territory was a mistake, and everyone knew it. Raven stood slowly, his tall frame casting a shadow that seemed to swallow the light. He expected fear, begging, or trembling when she sensed him near. Instead, she stopped, lifted her face slightly, and asked politely if someone could tell her which street she was on. Her voice was calm, unbroken, and painfully human. Something inside Raven cracked in that moment. Not loudly, not enough for anyone else to hear, but enough for him to feel it. He hadn't heard a voice like that in years, untouched by fear of him. He studied her, noticing the worn shoes, the careful posture, the way her fingers tightened slightly around the cane. This was not an act. This was a woman surviving a world that never showed her mercy. The gang waited for his reaction, expecting cruelty, maybe laughter, maybe worse. Instead, Raven raised a hand, silencing them. The engines quieted, and the bridge felt strangely still. He told one of his men to check the construction routes nearby. No one argued. They never did. Eliza sensed the shift but didn't know why. She only knew that someone powerful stood close, and for reasons she couldn't explain, she didn't feel afraid. Over the next few minutes, Raven guided her out of danger, ensuring she reached a safe street where traffic sounded normal again. He didn't touch her, didn't intimidate her, didn't let his men near. To the gang, this was unbelievable. To Raven, it was unsettling. As Eliza thanked him and walked away, unaware of who he truly was, something followed her that night that had nothing to do with fear. It was curiosity, guilt, and a strange sense of responsibility Raven had never felt before. Days passed, but the image of the blind girl haunted him. He began to ask questions through quiet channels, learning about Eliza's life. He discovered she volunteered at a community center on weekends, teaching music to children with disabilities. Music had become her sight, her way of seeing the world. Raven found himself drawn to that place without understanding why. He told himself it was coincidence, but deep down, he knew better. When he finally went there, he didn't arrive on a roaring bike or with his gang. He came alone, dressed simply, watching from a distance. He listened as Eliza helped children find rhythm and confidence, her patience endless, her smile genuine. These kids didn't know who he was. They didn't fear him. For the first time in years, Raven felt invisible, and it terrified him more than any enemy ever had. Eliza sensed him before she saw him. She always did. She recognized the sound of his steps, the same steady weight she remembered from under the bridge. She greeted him without knowing his name, only thanking him again for helping her that night. Raven felt something tighten in his chest. He wanted to leave, to return to the world that made sense, but he stayed. He started coming back, donating anonymously at first, fixing broken equipment, protecting the center quietly when trouble came near. Word spread among the Iron Ravens that their leader was changing. He stopped unnecessary violence. He punished cruelty within his own ranks. He began redirecting money away from weapons and into strange projects no one understood. Some respected him more. Others questioned his strength. Enemies saw opportunity. Danger closed in. Eliza never knew the full truth, but she felt the change around her. The streets near the center became safer. The kids laughed more freely. One night, trouble came anyway. A rival gang attacked the area, aiming to hurt Raven by destroying what mattered to him. The center was caught in the crossfire. Raven arrived like a storm, protecting the building with everything he had. He took blows meant for others, fought not for power, but for something fragile and pure. Eliza was inside, guiding the children to safety by sound alone, her heart pounding but her resolve unbroken. When the chaos ended, the center still stood, and Raven collapsed outside, wounded but alive. At the hospital, Eliza sat nearby, sensing his pain, holding his hand without knowing why it felt so important. She didn't need to see his scars to understand them. In that quiet room, Raven finally understood that redemption wasn't earned through fear or control, but through sacrifice and change. He survived, but he didn't return to the life he once ruled. The Iron Ravens slowly transformed under new leadership, and Raven walked away, using his influence to dismantle what he once built. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. But it was real. Months later, the community center reopened, larger and safer than before. Raven funded it openly this time, no longer hiding. Eliza stood at the front during the opening ceremony, speaking about kindness, unseen strength, and the power of being guided by heart instead of sight. She never named Raven as a hero, but everyone felt it. Just before the ending of this story, we want to ask you something special. Please comment the word hope below if you believe even the darkest hearts can find light. As Raven stood in the crowd, no longer feared, no longer hiding, he felt something he had never known. Peace. Eliza didn't see his smile, but she sensed it, and she smiled too. Two lives from opposite worlds had collided under a bridge of shadows, and in doing so, changed countless others forever. If this story touched your heart, moved you, or made you believe in humanity just a little more, please like, share, and comment on this video. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most, and reminds the world that even in darkness, kindness can still find its way.